Hello, this is Ryan McDonald at Shade Digital, and today we're going to review Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Man, Gary's been one of my idols in marketing since 2013. When I got into marketing, I got exposed to Gary Vaynerchuk almost immediately by the people I worked with. And I was lucky enough to get this copy early. I went to Agent 2021 with a client, and boom, got it signed. It's not the most, legible signature, but I suppose if I was gonna sign 500 books, it'd be a lot of quick squiggly lines on it too. And so today I wanted to review his book. Normally I do digital marketing tips or my creating a digital marketing documentary or podcast, whatever you want to call it. But, Gary is such a big name in the marketing world. I wanted to talk about his book because it's given me some good perspective. So what did it give me perspective on? Well, I realized that for the last 5 years, I've been almost entirely focused on short-term results rather than building a brand. In my business, clients give me money and they expect a positive ROI, and they expect that positive ROI almost immediately. There's little time for bullshit. There's little time for, hey, take the long view on this, and I swear to God, in 2 years, in 5 years, it's gonna completely transform your business. That's not the kind of marketing I've done, and it shows in my organic social game. I didn't realize just how far behind my own skill set in organic social had gotten until I read Crushing It. Just plain and simple. I've been in the paid, in the online advertising game, and in the CRO game, and in the SEO game, and not so much in the brand building game. No one's ever said, "Hey Ryan, build my brand," with a long-term vision, right? I mean, I've done social advertising and etc., but most of the clients I get are direct response. Most of the companies I've worked for in the past are direct response. They want, let's just say a 3% conversion rate. Why? Because that 3% conversion rate on that traffic results in a positive ROI immediately. Immediately. They can measure it this quarter, as opposed to seeing the labor with organic social, the content creation, right? That sort of stuff takes money to invest and do it right, but you don't even need a whole lot of money. But so that's Gary's book really opened my eyes to just how important an organic social game can be for a long-term brand. A personal, right? This book, and I'm talking about this in a business sense, right? Someone's business, but this book is the second volume to Crush It, right? It's called Crushing It for a reason. It relates directly to Crush It. And the importance of personal branding. When Crush It came out, I thought it was vain. I thought it was vain. You're filming yourself talking, or you're taking all these selfies, and you're just hustling so hard on social. In my mind, it wasn't building real interactions in person, but it was. I completely missed the boat. Just did. Completely missed the boat on how important personal branding was. And part of the reason was, and this is a cop-out, 100% a cop-out, but part of the reason was I was always working for other people. And sometimes, I worked for an ad agency back in the day, And, you know, there I was encouraged to share strategy, to share knowledge, to go out and speak, to go out and publish content, and to show off our strategies and my skill set and the agency's capabilities. When I moved to in-house roles, they strongly discourage you publishing what their strategies are. They just do, especially when you get to an executive level at a you know, $200 million e-commerce company. They just don't want their executives to create a blog post that says, hey, we're doing X, Y, and Z, and we're seeing these results. So that prohibited me from, and granted, it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. I could have still done it to a lesser extent, right? I could have found ways around it, is what I'm saying, if I just looked hard enough to. So, missed the boat on the personal branding early in the game. Missed the boat on a lot of things. But now that I'm doing my own thing, my own advertising agency, something that I can stand behind and say, we do fucking quality work. We transform brands. And when I say transform brands, I typically talk about revenue, you know, and bottom line, right? The bottom line is the important one. And so now that I do my own thing and I can stand behind my work and sort of be the face of it, reading Crushing It opened up a whole new perspective on having to build that personal brand, or at least put out content. And if there's anything I get out of Crushing It, anything that you should get out of Crushing It, it's that put out content. Period. Put out content. You want to, how are people going to know about you if you don't ever say or do anything in a way that people can find it? Right? You know, Gary talks about the digital landscape, the social landscape, and he's very focused on, and I know he knows paid strategies, obviously. Gary fucking Vaynerchuk knows knows Google AdWords, maybe not as well these days, right? Because he's a CEO of a $500 million company. But he knows paid strategies. But man, do I love to hear him talk about organic strategies, because that's where I'm weak. That's where this book has helped me. And one of the things he talks about is organic, is that how do I say this? That we're in an age where there's a digital land grab going on. A digital land grab. And what do I mean by that? He uses the book in, let's say, 1900 or 1920s. You buy beachfront property in Malibu. And you buy a lot of it, right? Now, that same beachfront property is worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. He talks about how this age, in terms of digital, is like buying beachfront property in the 1920s. And in Gary's mind, we are still early in that stage. And I agree to him that we're early. He talks about if this is a ball game, that we haven't even got to the parking lot yet. I disagree with that. I think the game's in, if this is a baseball game, I think we're probably in the second inning, the top of the second, right? People now know the importance of social media, and more brands are becoming aware of it, right? Podcasts are starting to become an everyday thing for people. YouTube, a lot of people are getting their content on YouTube. So I disagree with Gary that we're not in the parking lot anymore, or that we're past the parking lot, Gary. That's what I'm going to say. But he highlights that there's a new digital land grab. And I think in his mind, every new platform that comes out, there's a land grab opportunity, right? You could be the first person on Musical.ly, right, to talk about landscaping. And granted, the demographic of that platform is not fantastic for a landscaper, but you can be the first one there. And once everyone else jumps on board this platform, you're there with a huge audience and you'll be easily discovered. That's how he thinks about emerging social media trends and mediums. And that is a critical thing to think about, which, I was aware of YouTube, back when Google bought it. I was aware of podcasts several years ago. I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast in 2012, right? Love that podcast, by the way. Love it. To this day, it's great. And I'm so happy to see it's gotten so big. So these are things that I was aware of, and I'm a relatively digital savvy person. I spend almost all of my time on the internet in some fashion. Almost all of it. I sleep. All of my work happens on the internet. The vast majority of my downtime, my leisure time, happens on the internet. The only times I'm not on the internet are probably when I'm at the gym, or when I'm at dinner, or if I'm in a meeting. That not being on the internet throughout the day has become the exception and not the rule. The exception and not the rule. And it's time we all recognize that. And Gary does, right? So where, in my mind, out of this book, is the biggest land grab happening? And Gary has a chapter dedicated to voice first, which is Google HomePod, whatever they're calling it, Amazon Echo, all these sorts of voice first technology. And he talks about how Alexa skills are the new land grab. You want to be the first person in your industry to have an Alexa skill? You can do it. You can do it. And that real estate is going to be incredibly valuable. How Gary thinks about it is being the first person in your industry, or one of the first people to get something up or to really knock it out of the park with the quality of your content. Being the first in your industry to have an Alexa skill is like being at the top of Google in 2008. So valuable, so valuable. Imagine the business you could create if you were at the top of Google in 2008, right? And the same things still work, right? YouTube is still great, it's just more saturated. And he points this out in his book, Crushing It. YouTube is still great, podcasts are still great, Facebook's still great, Instagram's still great, all this is still great. It's just become a lot harder to get recognized, right? I have a digital marketing tips podcast. Well, there's probably, and I haven't even done the research because I don't care. I'm putting this out for me and whoever stumbles across it. But there's probably at least 20 other people doing the exact same thing, right? This isn't 2013 or 2012 where I could be the first person with a digital marketing podcast or digital marketing tips published on YouTube and just blow it away. So as these platforms mature, it becomes harder and harder to stand out and to take advantage of it. So when these platforms emerge, when they're early in their upswing, that's the digital land grab. If their users look like that, this part is the land grab, which you should take advantage of. That's the biggest thing I got out of this book. I also, I'm in Florida. maybe you can tell by the background, you know, it's January. It's pretty nice out. Originally from Minnesota, so this is fantastic. But in this book, he tells a lot of stories of people who listened to Crush It when it came out and acted on it, right? People who have went all in on whatever their passions are. And I use that, so I was in the market to find someone to help me with video production for clients, right? Building the video creative to distribute using paid and organic channels. And I'm not great at making videos, as you can tell with this, you know. So I wanted to reach out to somebody, and I just happened to run across Tasco Studios. It's featured in Crushing It as one of the stories. Looked the guy up, reached out to him, and had lunch with him shortly thereafter. And you know, I can now thank Gary Vaynerchuk for introducing me to a solid video production company like 40 minutes away from me. And that's going to benefit my clients. Yeah, so that's cool. The personal stories are extremely motivating. If anything, this book gives you, Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk gives you motivation and big picture thinking, right? Which is Gary's specialty. And the big picture thinking, like I said, is what it takes, as well as tactical, right? He delves into some tactical things on here, like how to get discovered on Instagram, you know, how to get discovered on Twitter biz dev tactics 101, 201, and he might even have a 301 in there. And he has chapters for almost every social platform. There's a few that he didn't include, which I'm a little bummed out about. One being LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Maybe I'm one of the few people, you know, and I know LinkedIn has several hundred million users, but it's like I use it as much as Facebook. It's a pretty rare thing for someone to do that. There's just so much good content on it, right? For business-minded content. So would I recommend Gary V's new book, Crushing It, to people? Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. And it's going to benefit different people in slightly different ways, but it's going to benefit you. It's a good book. You know, as someone who reads marketing blogs, watches videos, reads books, right? This has been one of my favorite. Crushing It has been one of my favorite business books. He gets it. He's got the right mindset, and he's got a good way of recognizing opportunity before the masses realize it. And that's so valuable. That's so valuable. You know, after I publish this, I'm going to look at creating an Alexa skill. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But you know, it's something I didn't even think about before reading this book. And now I realize how right he is when he talks about voice first as being a primary way we interact with the internet and with devices. And it's only going to get bigger, and it's going to get bigger real fast. Real fast. Your moment of opportunity for Alexa skills, we're in the middle of the digital land grab for Alexa skills. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Figure it out. Figure it out. If you truly want it, figure it out. So, if you're looking for awesome personal branding advice, organic social media strategies, or motivation, or entrepreneurial advice, if you're looking for those 4 things, buy Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crushing It. You will not regret it. Won't regret it. So, all right. Thank you for listening. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button down below. You can check out my digital marketing tips. Leave a comment, like, share. Just give feedback. If you subscribe, pretty sure you like this video, right? If you didn't like it, leave me a comment. Say, hey man, camera shaking was whack. Figure it out. And trust me, I know I am figuring it out, but it takes time, right? So, yeah, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And thank Gary Vaynerchuk for putting out a great book. So, all right, this was Ryan McDonald at Shade Digital, and thanks for your time.